All right, and we are live. Thanks everybody for coming and joining us here on the Big Show. I'm Big Will, and as always with me is Jeffrey KomiKHAN Henson. Hey,
What's
Jeff.
up? How's everybody doing?
Now, we have two guests today, but one camera. So we all know them as Delphia, Spark, and Kachoong, but they've recently, and well, I guess recently is probably a couple months, I'm not sure, did some name changing with their channels and whatnot. So they're going to introduce themselves and they'll explain that as well. So say hey, guys, and welcome.
Hey everyone.
Hey guys, happy Sunday.
Yeah.
So to talk about changing our channels, we started off with two YouTube channels. I had the Delphia Spark YouTube channel and he had Kachoong.
Yeah.
And we were really just living on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw the community kind of migrating to YouTube. And we wanted to keep playing, so we decided to make one channel on DK Comics and Cosplay. And the D is for Delphia, the K is for Kachoong.
Mm-hmm.
So it has both of us in there. And most of our content is going to be geared around, obviously, comic collecting. That's pretty much the entire room we're sitting in now.
Yeah.
And then cosplay, because we are getting into Dragon Con season. We do it every year. And hopefully we'd like to do more cons. It's just expensive. And to travel there and everything else, and thank goodness for us, Dragon Con is in our back door. So, so now all of our content for both of us is on DK Comics and Cosplay.
Yeah, if you sub me up, it's not going to do any good, but I have a link in there anyway that directs you to DK Comics and Cosplay. So that's, it's in there. YouTube doesn't make it easy to share that kind of thing, to make a kind of bread trail, but all that content's going to be on that one channel.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, everybody sub up DK Comics and Cosplay. And I guess, Jeff, why don't we welcome the chat before we get into what we're going to be talking about today?
Yeah, absolutely. We have got some good people in here joining us. We got Flaming Sheila. Good to see you as always, Sheila. My buddy Steve Whiting. Always good to see you, Steve. Hope you're having a great weekend. We've got Florence Chestnut. Good to see you, Florence. Thank you for joining us. Antonio Zapata, good to see you, buddy. We got Barbarian Kung Fu. Good to see you, Kung Fu. Hope you're having a good weekend. We've got the gorgeous women of comic. Good to see you today. Hope you're having a great weekend. We've also got JP's Budget Collecting. Hey, JP, hope you're having a good weekend. Ed D, Comics and Games. What's up, Ed D? Good to see you, buddy. We got my boy Rod, Just a Rican. Man, good to see you. How are you doing today, Rod? Hope you're having a good Sunday.
All right. Well, thanks everybody again for joining us. And
yeah,
we're going to be talking about cosplay with Delphia and Kachoong, and the reason why is a few weeks ago Jeff and I were talking, and we brought up cosplay, and we were telling people facts, but not really, because Jeff hadn't even been to a convention until this year for the first time, and I've been to a few, but neither one of us do any cosplay. And I got to thinking, you know what? We might actually want to talk to someone who actually does it. So I know we all probably know a layman's terms answer to this first question, but to get us started, what is cosplay?
I would say that cosplay is definitely a lifestyle. I would start there. I think most of the people that are dressed in costume there are always a few that went to Party City and just threw something together, and that's cool too. But I think that as far as even beginner to advanced cosplay, everyone that is together in some kind of costume spent a lot of time, spent days, months, weeks, finding the pieces for the costume, putting it together, finding out, exactly what their character was going to look like,
manufacturing all the pieces, wiring up the lights. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that go into it.
Yeah, even finding the place to store cosplay. Like, we have a closet in our garage. We have stuff that doesn't have to be weatherproof. That's more cosplay. Mm-hmm. So it's all electronics and wiring and material. I actually bought a wardrobe from IKEA this year and it's in our dining room, so it looks like it's part of our dining room, but it's not. It's full of stuff for cosplay.
It's like
So-
a craft full of drawers, full of craft stuff.
So there's cosplay hidden in like our entire house.
Yeah. But I guess as far as the word is concerned, it's kind of a contraction, right, for costume play. It's people immersing themselves in a character that they just love, that they've always loved, and they, you know, generally we're kind of like introverts, right? And we enjoy portraying something else and being a part of this fantasy, sci-fi, whatever it is. It can be manga or gaming. There's so many facets to it, but people immerse themselves in these characters, so they want to be those characters and dress up as them. It's, you know, it's an extension of Halloween.
I would say that there is also a lot of knowledge in cosplay. Now that I'm kind of new to comic collecting, and Kachoong's been collecting comics almost his whole life, so a little bit different, totally polar here, but a lot of the people in the cosplay community know a lot of knowledge about these characters because they love these characters and they want to, you know, make sure they understand their back history. And we'll just have conversations and learn so much from them. And it's very similar to the comic community. So I think there's a lot of synergy between the two that maybe isn't always recognized, which is really cool also.
I know most of the time when we hear it talked about by guys like me and Jeff that don't do it, it's normally we assume that they're in costume every day of the convention. They don't buy any books or anything, and all they do is walk around in the costume. And I know that's not correct. Percentage-wise, how many of them actually enjoy the rest of the convention versus are there solely for the cosplay?
I think it depends on, you know, some of the costumes are so large that they just can't be anywhere but in the lobby of a hotel or wherever it is. And that's, you know, they put together the costume and they get inside it and that's all they can do. But most people enjoy the whole con. We get tickets, we pay to get in. You know, and at Dragon Con, it's over 5 hotels and, you know, multiple other different buildings that you can get into. And, you know, we just enjoy whatever we can for the period of the con.
I would say, if I had to say percentage-wise, I would say maybe like 30% of the people there are just for cosplay. And then the other cosplayers, you know, come, I mean, there are certain days that Kachoong and I just go in street clothes. And that's because, you know, we want to see a certain panel. At Dragon Con, they have like fighting robots, which is really cool. And they also have like leatherworking classes. So you can learn how to make certain, you know, belts and harnesses. So I think just dressing for the occasion, a lot of people too that stay at the con in the hotels, they'll change in and out of their costume so that they can be more mobile. Because we were talking about this yesterday, most of the cosplayers that bump into people or whatever, that's the last thing they want to do.
Yeah.
Because sometimes their costumes are being held together by hot glue and super glue. And they're trying to avoid you as much as you're trying to avoid them, I think, most of the time. Yeah. Unless they're drunk.
Wasn't there a guy at Dragon Con that had like a sign and he walked around with glue, tape, and everything else, like did free cosplay repair if you needed it?
Multiple people that do that.
Which is so cool. They don't get paid to do that. They just make all of these repair kits. Sometimes they'll have like even a station where you can plug in like an outlet on their costume.
Charge your lights. If your lights are going dim and you need a fresh battery, they'll charge it for you.
Yeah.
They'll glue you together. I mean, they're like Swiss Army knife for cosplayers, and there's multiple of them, and that is their cosplay.
I think that the cosplay community in general, though, the people are really accepting. I know for us, you know, when we went to our first con, our costumes were okay. They were okay, you know, but they were our first go at trying, and people will stop and talk to us about how we made this and how we can improve it, and, you know, talking about what they made, and just really, really friendly, accepting people. Like no one's judgy in the cosplay community, I don't think.
Yeah.
What year was the one by the popcorn?
That was last year. That was my Maleficent cosplay for the Bunny Ranch. I didn't actually wear that tutu with it. I thought about it, but I wound up wearing some like hot pants, and I made a bunny tail. But that was last year, and then I made those wings and the horns for last year as well.
Yeah.
And the staff. This one's pretty cool. I showed it on the Symbiote chat. So KomiKHAN and I made this from scratch. So this is basically
PVC pipe.
To show you kind of what goes into this. This is PVC pipe, and I measured it out so that I could wear my heels that I made, and I hand painted these dragons.
That's insane. Like the amount of time that goes into this is.
Oh yeah. I painted the bottoms. They don't look as good as they used to. Put the rhinestones. I put this on here. And this was just my shoe. And
Both of them.
but yeah, I have my 2 shoes. Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, so you know, sometimes people don't even notice those details till they come up to you.
I bet.
And then KomiKHAN, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so the
you had a lot to do with that.
The staff's PVC pipe, and you know, it's one of these bowls you can get from Joann's or whatever, and that's kind of stuck on the top. I've made a little door with the magnet, so you can put a battery in and change the battery on it. And then there's a switch that turns the light on. And then a lot of this is just foam. You know, foam is floor mat foam. Yep. No. Sorry. Oh, the light. Right. She's just. Yeah. Anyway. But, so EVA foam is kind of like the multi-tool material that a lot of cosplayers use. It's that stuff you use for floor mats. And most cosplayers will buy those floor mats and cut them up, glue them together, and do all sorts of things with them.
Mm-hmm. So we have repurposing. So we upcycle a lot of stuff with cosplay.
Upcycle. I don't think I've heard that before, but the chat is trying to crack Jeffrey up, and they've been succeeding. But Jeff, you got any questions, man? I feel like
I do. No, for sure, I do. My biggest thing, that I want to know is I know, like, because I know some people that cosplay a little bit, and even just like doing a simple outfit, they've got weeks of time into like one outfit. Like, I mean, can you guys, like, when you decide that you're gonna do something for a show or for a convention, like how much time do you think really goes into that outfit? We're talking like hours and hours, weeks probably into one outfit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we have pretty busy lives outside of cosplay and comics.
Yeah, so, I can imagine.
Yeah, and so when we get to crunch time, and basically the last 4 months before DragonCon, every single night we come home and we're doing something for cosplay, because a lot of the stuff has to be done in stages. Like, you have to lay down, sometimes you have to sand something, and then you have to let it dry and cure, and you can't do anything for 24 hours. So it's really important to make sure that you're doing it in a good, like chain of events, or in a good.
You can't put something together if you're painting something and you're finishing it and sanding it. You know, you can't do it in 2 days, or even a few days. You need to wait for the paint to dry. You got to, you know, treat it. And just even this, for instance, this is a shoulder piece for my Moon Knight costume. It's just, you can see it's floor mat.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's 2 pieces that I, you know, traced out from one pattern and just flipped it over to do the mirror image and glued them down the middle. Then you hit it with a heat gun. You hit it with a heat gun, and you can form it into anything you want.
That's insane.
Then you coat it with something, pre-paint. Then you paint it. There's, you know, various sanding done. It depends on the texture you want. This was a pretty quick build, so I didn't spend too much time on it. And then, you know, hot glue a buckle in there so it buckles to the other parts of the armor. So.
Man, I bet there's a lot of planning that goes into it before you even start making it, right? Like, just because seeing that buckle on that shoulder, like, you probably had to sit there and figure out how you were going to connect these pieces before you even started, right?
And this was last year, so this is that was the 3rd year that we've done cosplay, so I had built my knowledge on the previous years, the mistakes I'd done those years, and you know, I've now refined the way that I connect pieces together based on what I've learned in the past.
Definitely.
Crazy.
So I would imagine once you decide on a character, sometimes going through the process, things change and you might have to go to a different character. So how often does that happen, and how much does it impact the time that it takes you to design and then start building?
Yeah, I think the characters actually change sometimes. You know, you go in all gung-ho once you've finished, say we just finished last year's con, and we're like, well, we want to do this, we want to do that. We have a list of like 10 characters each that we want to do, and we just can't pull that off, let alone the time that we have, really just a set amount of days that we can you know, wear them.
And the money.
And the money. So, you know, we narrow it down to a few. Sometimes we upgrade something we've done just to cut down on creation time. But, you know, sometimes we'll just start from scratch and you have to draw what you want, get some ideas together, and really just jump into it. It's kind of like,
you have to get started. I mean, things are going to change as you're making them. We were actually talking earlier before we came on the show about what our most difficult cosplay was to date, and just kind of walking through some of the creations we've done. And I did a Killer Frost a couple of years ago, and we found some tutorials online where you can basically make body armor by saran wrapping your body, and then we had to
you
put tape over it.
Saran wrap that protects you from the duct tape you put over it, and then you cover yourself in duct tape. You draw on any patterns that you really want the designs to be on there, and you cut those out, and you cut it all out into pieces, and so you can use those as templates. And so it's kind of like a template of your body.
So KomiKHAN tried to make this template of my body the year before last, and it wound up coming out cool looking, but it was really big, like really high and really big. So we had to kind of adjust how we were doing that. We weren't ready for that technique yet. We just didn't have it down pat.
This is what I was trying to use, this warbler. It's a plastic. This is how it comes in sheets, and it's a very thin plastic, but it's I can't remember the name, but it's heat. You heat it up and you can mold it into anything you want. And so I made this you know, like a foam underneath, and then you cover it in warbler when it's heated up, and you can kind of press it into the shapes that you want. But it was my first attempt. It wasn't working, so we had to go a different option. Adjusted.
I would think that's probably more like once you decide on the characters with Dragon Con, it's especially for us or cosplay, I kind of stay headed in that direction. It's just how do you get there? That's what changes.
And you always make mistakes, and you should be happy with that, and be happy that you learn from those mistakes, and you just get better and more efficient, and you know which materials to use over others. Some circumstances call for one material. When you start using that, you think, oh, okay, I'm not using the right material, I'll use something else. And there's a lot of people out there that you can get ideas from or tips. There's plenty of stuff out there, content.
So I go to Dragon Con as well. Dragon Con's at the end of August. Does that mean you're now in crunch time, or about to be?
We are totally in crunch time. That's kind of why I went ahead and like pushed myself to do that test shoot. I did it 2 days ago. KomiKHAN was actually getting back in town. We didn't talk about it on YouTube and stuff like that, but I forced myself to put on what I had of my Harlequin and some of the new things I got, just to see where I was and to figure out where I needed to go. Because I really want to do it up this year. My arm guards that we made the first year were like super bulky. So we're gonna, make those a little bit more low profile this year. And just kind of, but they were good for where we were.
Yeah, that was our first year, so they were noob.
We're in crunch time, Big Will. You were correct.
How long have you guys been doing it for now? Like,
This will be our 4th Dragon Con.
It was something I always wanted to go to. I'm from Atlanta originally. I moved to Austin, Texas, and that's where we met, and we moved back. But I remember when I was in college and I worked downtown, I went to school downtown, and always seeing people come through, and I would hear that people would drop like $3,000 and $4,000 on commission for these costumes, which just sounded bonkers to me. And
crazy.
it is crazy. I mean, we still haven't done anything like that, but it's some people will spend a lot of money to get someone else to make them a one-of-a-kind costume.
Right.
And I was just like, I don't get it. Like, I couldn't wrap my head around it, you know? And like, I was waitressing and going to school, and I'm like, who the heck would spend $3,000 on a Wookiee costume? I'm like, it's cool, but I don't get it. But I always wanted to go to Dragon Con. I will say I kind of felt nervous. Like, I've always kind of been like a closet nerd.
Yeah, I feel you right there.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm nervous. Like, I feel like it would be really overwhelming. And I will say, every year that we go, when we first get there, I'm nervous. Like, I'm super nervous. And when we're driving downtown and we're in full costume, and people are looking at me at the stoplight, I'm like, I just want to crawl inside of myself and die.
So do you guys?
Huh?
Do you just do it for fun, or do you? I mean, obviously you do it for fun, but what I'm asking is, do you compete at Dragon Con, or do you stay out of the competition?
We haven't competed yet, just because, full transparency, Kachoong and I, with Crunch Time, sometimes we're like literally painting my hot pants on my body as we're like running out the door. So we get there when we can get there, but this year we're trying to plan it out better. So the goal this year is to have our costumes done before Dragon Con, so that we can hopefully at least get into one competition. I think it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I was watching your channel, and you had mentioned something about trying to do Star Sapphire. Has that changed now to Harley Quinn, or what's going on with that?
I still have to do Star Sapphire. We're doing a group cosplay with some really cool people that we met. They live in Nashville, and they come down every year. And so they're doing a whole Lantern Corps lineup.
All the colors. So we got assigned a couple of colors, and we are running with those and doing what we can.
I got pink, and Kachoong got orange, right?
Yeah, I got Larfleeze.
So Larfleeze hasn't had much history, so there's not many variations in his costume design in the books. But Star Sapphire, however, are you going more old school, more new school, or like the 90s where everything was just going crazy?
I was looking at, I have a few different versions. I've pulled some books for inspiration, but I was looking at the Wonder Woman version of Star Sapphire.
From Blackest Night.
Yeah,
Brightest Day.
I have her section of Blackest Night. So I think that's where I'm going to head with my cosplay. So with something like that, just to kind of give some understanding of how those come together, we're probably going to order the bodysuit. There are some really good sites online where I guess professional cosplayers order their Spidey suits and stuff like that from, and they'll custom make it to your measurements.
And print all sorts of designs on there. So you can even get something designed that is printed on there.
So today, and maybe we'll take some pictures and post it on Instagram, but because I said we're getting into this, so there'll be more cosplay, but we're going to do some measuring and some ordering, and then from there, all of the armor pieces we'll make from scratch.
Okay, cool. Hey, I've noticed we got some more people jumping in here. We got Discovery Bay joined us, Comic Zombie, some other people I know just jumped in. So welcome. And I do have one other question. Is there cosplay that should not be done, or is anything for game?
Anything's for game. That's the short answer. I've seen women running around there with nothing on but pasties. So I mean,
that's Dragon Con. So I mean,
this Dragon, there are women that should be wearing pasties because there's like a group of beautiful women, and then there's some women that should not be wearing pasties. and both of them feel equally as comfortable at Dragon Con. So, but to your question about real characters, everything. There's Star Wars. There's Bob's Burgers. I wear my Coochie Kopi, if anyone knows what that is. And anything. Disney.
Every fandom you can think of is at Dragon Con. And
Aliens.
yeah.
There's some really cool aliens. Like when people do Predator and Aliens, especially, I would say Aliens, they usually do it in a group. And just seeing the intricacy and detail that went into all of that work is pretty amazing.
The untrained eye, it's like, how the heck did that happen? How did they put that together? And then with a semi-trained eye, you can look at the details and think, there's a lot of time, a lot of money, patience, that's gone into that.
Yeah, I know Jeffrey saw a Magneto that was pretty out there.
Oh man, yeah.
We heard about that.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I
It's
know
like burned in your skull forever.
Oh yes, I can't remove that one.
I know I went with a buddy to the Dragon Con night at the aquarium that they do, and they have a cosplay contest there. Michael Rosenbaum was the judge. And I noticed that as we were walking out, there were two girls, and I have no idea what their cosplay was. I couldn't tell, but all it was one was in a black bikini and the other was in a pink bikini.
Okay.
I have no idea what they were, but that's what they were wearing. So.
Oh, that happens a lot. You look at someone and you're like, what are you?
Yeah.
Who are you? From where are you?
Yeah, and I think that, for me personally, when I see the cosplays that I can't recognize, but I still see there was a lot of work that went into it, and then they're like, oh, this is what I am. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. But, when I see somebody personally that just threw on a bikini and they're like, oh, I'm this, I'm like, are you really cosplaying? Like, it's cool. I don't really care. But to me, that's not really cosplay, because I think what makes a cosplay beautiful and amazing is all the work that goes into it,
And then being a character in the costume.
And then being the character in the costume. We went to that aquarium thing also, Big Will. Not last year, the year before.
I was Black Manta and she was her Killer Frost. And we died that night. It was it was so crowded. So crowded compared to everywhere else at Dragon Con. It was hot and we had to walk a long way and catch a bus to get there. And
we spent 3 hours just trying to get to the aquarium and leaving the aquarium.
Yeah. The one I went to was year before last during the Alabama game, so the traffic was just insane.
That's when we went.
That's when we went.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We were at the aquarium at the same time.
Yeah, well, we'll have to make sure we run into each other this time.
I know.
But I actually won't be at the aquarium this time, but Dragon Con itself, I will be.
Yeah, we decided not to go back to the aquarium.
We love going. So this is our little tip. And since this is a very small community, it won't ruin our experience. But we love to hang out in the Hyatt. That's our favorite hotel as far as just people watching, because it's so open. There's good lighting for pictures, and you can breathe.
Yeah, it's less crowded than the Marriott. The Marriott is the insane one. With all the parties and the crowds. And although there's a lot of people, it's cooler. They somehow have better AC. Maybe because there's less people.
I think if you want to get the con crowd, you'll get it in the Marriott. So
explain that exactly to Jeffrey, because the only ones he's been to have been in a auditorium kind of area where there's one big area and that's it. Am I right, Jeff?
Well, until WonderCon, but I mean, yeah. Well, WonderCon was kind of the same way. It was just kind of one big area, but it was so big it felt like.
That's one of the differences of Dragon Con. Can you explain to people who maybe haven't been what makes it different with the 5 different hotels and whatnot?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, parking is expensive, so prepare for that. It's like $25 minimum a day. I mean, and you can't leave. If you leave and come back, you pay again. So there's that. But it's spread out across, as Big Will said, 5 hotels. I'm pretty sure there's probably other businesses around there participating. The nice thing is, though, because it's in the city like that, there's a lot of good places to go eat around there. There's the Hard Rock. There's Hooters, if you want to go Hooter watching.
There you go, Jeff.
It's like literally right there. There's we used to go to, I can't remember the name of it, but it's in the Hyatt.
The Suave is the name of the restaurant.
And
it's
we-
inside the Hyatt.
Yeah, and you can actually go sit in there and have a decent meal and then watch everyone around. But there's a lot of lines, like every con, depending on what you're trying to get to. There's a section in the apparel mart that's all the vendors, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's
It's a whole building, there's multiple floors of the building, but there's one big kind of convention center that's full of all the vendors. And, you know, there's a line even to get in there.
Depending on the day.
Depending on the day.
Yeah.
So that's where you'll find all your
everything. I mean, anyone selling anything, games, art, I mean, whatever you could imagine. And it's all sectioned out really well. I think that the nice thing is that because it's spread out like that, the con doesn't get too overwhelming in one place. Everyone's moving. Either they're going through the breezeways and going between hotels. And then at 10 o'clock, I think, that's when like all the parties start.
Yeah, all the big parties. And there'll be sometimes 6 big like dance parties going on at the same time.
Yeah, that's one thing that was crazy to me when I first went, is that it started on Thursday and it literally was 24 hours doing something if you wanted to until the end on Monday night.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, honestly, it's kind of like, to me, it's kind of like Vegas, you know, how they like pump oxygen into the room and the lights are always on. Like if you didn't know what time it was, I mean, there's been times that we're at Dragon Con until like 4 in the morning and we feel like it's like 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Until we get in the car.
And then we're like, oh my gosh, well, we're still buzzing for a little bit, but then we're like, oh my gosh, like we're going to be so tired tomorrow.
So Jeff, what other questions do we have as far as cosplay goes? I'm thinking of a few myself. What do you got?
When I see a lot of these costumes, it looks very hot. Like, do you guys take any of that into consideration when you're making your costume, or are you just like, if it's hot, I'll deal with it?
They look really good, or the temperature?
Yeah, temperature. Sorry, temperature-wise. Like, 'cause I see a lot of these people that they're full body suits with helmets sometimes, or even like, you know, you see the people in the Chewbacca outfit. Like, I mean, we're talking like it's night. I don't know about there, but here it's 95 plus, and you got these people in like these. It just looks hot sometimes, man. Yeah. Is that just something you just deal with, or?
No,
it's hot.
It's hot. You find out very early on, you know, that you really need to adjust next time because if you walk up to someone in a Batman suit and look real close, they are sweating like nothing else.
I believe
it. Not comfortable, but you know, they just put up with it, deal with it. You know, hopefully they put some Febreze in there afterwards, but
yeah.
Like the Aquaman suits and things, I know it's all just close to your skin, but you know, I think this year I'm being laughly, so I'm making the head big enough that when my head is in there, I'm gonna put a fan inside there that's cooling my face, that runs on a battery with the lights, and it's just self-contained, and hopefully that will cool me down. Because my Black Manta last year it was hot.
Oh,
yeah,
I bet.
I was constantly holding it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like halfway through the convention, I saw a lot of people who had like face things that cover their face, helmets and stuff. They would just be carrying them because I'm assuming it gets so hot at some point.
You just put them on for pictures and then keep them off the rest of the time.
Yeah, but some of the bigger costumes that look hot, some of those people like KomiKHAN's planning on doing, like they have multiple fans set up in there.
That's crazy.
That's smart. But I mean, not everyone can really fit that in or do that.
Yeah, right. The guy on the first Dragon Con we went to where he was outside and we were looking at.
So cool.
He kind of gave us a tour. He opened his little window. He was this big creature. He opened the window and he was just dressed in t-shirt and pants in there.
He looked comfortable.
A couple of fans. He had a drink holder. I mean, he had snacks in there.
That's cool.
He had a stand for his phone so he could just like be on social media. Like,
yeah.
Nice. Now, for those of you who don't know, Atlanta is obviously in Georgia, which is the deep South.
Yep.
You have not experienced heat like that with the humidity that can be up to 100% as well.
Right.
So it is something that is, if you've never been, prepare thyself. Now,
Yeah.
we had a question from JP's Budget Collecting. He may have missed it, but he wanted to know from you two, what inspires you to go from that's cool to let's do this?
Yeah. It's a good question. I think that
it's kind of based in the character itself. I think, you know, if we love it enough and it doesn't take us too long to come up with the how are we going to do this in our mind and just from notes.
Does he mean the character, or does he mean like let's do cosplay? Like let's go do cosplay.
Oh, you mean let's
That's
do
kind of how I
cosplay?
took it. Like if that's cool,
Or
let's
the
jump
actual
into it.
build?
That's what I think. I thought that's kind of what he was asking. But
Yeah, that's what I thought. I think he meant like what motivated you guys to just start doing cosplay?
yeah, that's what I
Okay.
think. That's why I said that's a
That's
good
a
big
completely
question.
different answer.
Yeah, so I was like, come back. I think that so we do everything together. We're best friends, and that makes a big difference in I think the way we hang out. We used to rock climb a lot together, and that's something that he enjoyed for a long time. I got into on my own, and then we met that way. And when we moved to Atlanta, I would say that moving here kind of put a little bit of a void in our life as far as climbing. There's not a lot of outdoor climbing features here like there is in Austin. So we both really like a lot of these characters. I'm more of a gamer. He obviously had this like hidden comic collecting hobby.
And I was always into Dungeons and Dragons, mythology, you name it, sci-fi.
And we also have like our strong suits are different. Like Dave is very good at, I would say, piecing things together. He has a very technical mind, and then I'm very creative. So I can visualize it all and then fill in all the missing pieces and know what's needed to get it to the end result.
And I'll get it done.
And he'll get it done. So that's kind of, we play off of that. But for us, I think it was just something that I had wanted to do as far as going to Dragon Con. I know that Kachoong was interested in cons as well. And
we always had big Halloweens.
We did. We put a lot into Halloweens before Dragon Con, and now we don't.
That is our Halloween now.
And so I think it was just us both kind of, as Kachoong said a couple weeks ago, just like diving into the deep end. We were like, are we going to do this? And
don't be scared to just start and
we
do
did
something.
Even
if you make a prop or something to begin with, dress in your normal clothes and just make some cool gun or whatever.
Yeah, and we've met some really great people cosplaying. Just some really supportive people that we have side chats with, and we're like trying to figure out what we're going to build together and what they're building. So it's a really good community to be a part of as well.
Well, I'd like to point out Comic Zombie put in the chat, "Oh, how sweet you two."
We're best friends.
So this is way off tangent, but isn't Kachoong from rock climbing? The name Kachoong, or am I missing?
I've been rock climbing.
He's been rock climbing forever.
For a long time, 25 years.
All right, let's see. Looking at the chat, they're saying you should play Joni and Chachi. Let's see.
Close to normal clothes.
Comic Zombie says you have great taste in sci-fi. That sounds. Now, when you say sci-fi, are you books, all forms of media, or just like what sci-fi are you? Do you encompass everything? Are you more books, more TV, more movies, more comics?
I love watching movies, TV shows. Some comics. Growing up, I was a Star Wars just nut, and I got into mythology a lot. So it was a lot of history-related mythology, and that kind of turned into Dungeons and Dragons pretty quickly through young high school, and then then movies started getting better and better and better, and I guess I just kind of followed those.
All right. Now, for those of you who've never been to Dragon Con, it's a pop culture convention, but to me, it's like 4 or 5 different conventions rolled into one. It's a comic book convention, it's a cosplay convention, it's a literary convention, and it's a science convention, all put together, rolled into one. So if you've never been, it's something to go to. And is that the only one you guys ever set your sights on, or were you thinking about trying a different one? And someone was like, "Well, do Dragon Con instead," or how did that conversation
It was always
go?
Dragon Con to start with, but we've since thought, when we have time, we'd like to branch out and try another one.
Mm-hmm. We were looking at Heroes Con just because it's pretty close. It's like it's in North Carolina, I believe, right? So we were looking at that. Plus, there's some pretty good artists that are coming out there to sign comics, which would be really cool to meet some of them. So we may venture that way. It's close to our birthdays. Our birthdays are 4 days apart. So we just do like a joint birthday. So we may go to Heroes Con on that weekend, which would be kind of cool.
Cool. Jeffrey, what other questions we got for him? Or I'm sort of tapped out. I think they've answered everything that I was going to ask if I didn't already ask it. What about you?
I was wondering. I got the first costume that you guys ever did cosplay wise that you put together.
So the first Dragon Con we did, she had 3 costumes. I had 2.
Yeah.
The very first night, she was Steampunk Ariel.
Oh yeah,
and
I forgot about that.
I was Nightwing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second night, I was Nightwing again, and she was Harley Quinn with her huge hammer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then the third day, I was a soldier from Fallout, the game Fallout, and he was Poison Ivy.
Mm-hmm. The Steampunk Ariel was really cool, just because during the daytime, a lot of people bring their little kids, and they'll go around trying to see as many of their favorite superheroes as possible.
Or Disney characters.
So I took a lot of pictures with little kids because their parents and the kids were like, Ariel! So that was sweet. It was fun. And then the next day I did Harley Quinn. So I was taking pictures with Jokers and penguins. And I think that's kind of the cool thing about cosplay too. I think we've had so many conversations at Dragon Con, like in the line at Starbucks, because there's a Starbucks in the Marriott, right? Isn't it in Marriott? And people there's like doctors, lawyers, engineers, bus drivers, like all walks of life, right? All basically coming together and playing together pretty much. And I think it's a good way for people like us that are kind of extroverts to put on a mask and come out and play and do something that you wouldn't normally do.
And the photo aspects, when there are photos being taken and there's a group there, and all of a sudden you start from 4 Gotham characters. Every 10 minutes, they just come along and they all jump in the photo, and no one says no to that.
No. So it's really cool from that aspect. Actually got these were from my first con. These were my Poison Ivy boots.
That's cool.
And I got these boots from the thrift store. They're actually really nice boots, but I paid like $5 for them. And that's so key. That is, as they would say, that's clutch. You need to take comfortable shoes.
Yeah.
If you wear uncomfortable shoes to a con, you will regret it. I did it with my Killer Frost. For me, that year, I was like, oh, I want to look really good. I'm getting these really high platform, boots or whatever. And I kid you not, that year, the 3 months after Dragon Con, I could not feel my toes. Like, and I was almost worried that I had done nerve damage.
I'll tell you, I went to WonderCon last month, and I had the most comfortable pair of shoes that I own on, and I was still sore by the end of the day. So I couldn't imagine walking around in something like that.
Well,
Yeah.
my buddy bought new insoles when we went to Dragon Con, and he never had bought them before. So he just put them in, started wearing them. Turns out they weren't the right kind, and we had to leave early on the last day because his ankle was swollen and sore. He couldn't walk on it hardly.
It's a lot, man, for sure. All right, I one more question that I was thinking is, what was the favorite one that outfit that you guys did? Your favorite one?
Ooh, answer that, the favorite one of your own, and then the favorite one of each other.
Big Will's trying to get us divorced. You can go first.
So my favorite was, I think it you know, I really loved the reception I got from Black Manta. But Moon Knight was pretty cool because I was much more comfortable in it. And I think my overall experience was better in Moon Knight because it really was, I was wearing ninja shoes, and you know, the only time I was uncomfortable was if my mask was on too long. But overall,
Moon Knight was fun.
It was fun to do Moon Knight. The most fun from Delphia, definitely Maleficent. Yeah, it was spectacular. And the only reason she didn't win the Bunny Ranch contest is because she didn't have bunny ears.
Well, I didn't enter it because I didn't have bunny ears.
Right. She had horns.
Yeah.
She would have won.
I think for me, my favorite cosplay for KomiKHAN was definitely his manta. People loved his manta. I think that, you know, it's always good to pick a character that a lot of people aren't doing. You know, I did Wonder Woman one time, and there were probably like 600 Wonder Women. So when there's a lot of people running around with your costume on, it kind of makes it less special. People are less excited to see you. But I think that there were maybe 5 black mantas at the whole con. And so whenever anyone saw his manta and his eyes lit up, they would run over and they're like, Manta! So just the energy is really cool. So it turned out really well. He did an awesome job on that. I didn't like holding his helmet half the night, but his costume was really cool. As far as my favorite costume, it was definitely my Maleficent. And that was, I think it was 2 things. One, it was extremely comfortable. Even though it may not look comfortable, it was so comfortable. I didn't even feel my costume on, and that makes such a difference. And the second thing was that my wings actually opened up, which was really cool, and people didn't expect that. So I think having a nice surprise element, whether it's lighting or movement of some kind,
lights, yeah, definitely lights,
makes a big difference. And so that was really cool.
They would come in to take a picture of her, and then she'd just, you know, stand her pose, and then she'd open the wings, and they'd be like, "Whoa, okay, I gotta take some steps back."
Yeah, that looks cool. I'm actually looking at it right now on Instagram.
Nice. All right. Well, let's see.
I have a question.
Do what?
I have a question for you, Big Will.
Okay.
If you cosplayed, what would you be?
Well, it'd have to be somebody really fat. I have no idea. Oh, I could do the Captain Marvel, the Grandpa Captain Marvel. I forget what they call him. I could do that. That'd be an easy one to do, I think.
Maybe.
All right, what about you, Jeff? What would you cosplay as? And is it the Hulk, or are you going to actually surprise us?
Well, I'd probably surprise you more so because there's no way that I'm big enough to like paint my body green and go walking around naked. So I would the thought that I've always had that I'd like to do would be Cable. So I actually looked into doing it one time, but it was like one of those things where, you know, I didn't know what I was thinking about. I was like, it was like a month before the show, and then I was like, oh, no, it's not happening. I'm not trying to just look like, because it's like you guys said, you don't want to look like you just ran down somewhere and bought something, or you just threw something together. You want it to be nice, right? Like, so there was no way that I was throwing some crap together.
Yeah. And I think
And it's expensive too. Like that's another thing.
it does get expensive. We always try to set a budget for Dragon Con, just prior to, because even just buying little bits here and there, and then whether it's acrylic paint or foam, it starts to get expensive. The more and more you add onto it. So I totally understand.
Now, most of the little YouTube community that we're in is people talking about books, showing comic books, and talking about the stories within the comic books. And cosplay is mentioned, but not that many people really do it. I mean, I know of you two and JD and his wife, and that's pretty much all I know of. So what would you two, in closing remarks here, like everyone to know about cosplay that probably doesn't really do it or know that much about it other than what they see in this little community we have?
I think one, definitely don't be afraid to start and build something. Just jump in. Message us if you have any ideas that you want to just create and you don't know where to start. We're happy to help, give some tips and some starting points. What else? Shoes, comfortable shoes.
Yeah, I think the most important things when you're thinking about the con is travel light. The first year we made a big mistake, and we went online and found one of those like con survival kits, and we took everything that was on the con list, and we had like this trolley that we were carrying with us, and it was ridiculous. We had water and snacks and everything. Like, don't take any of that. Don't take anything but yourself. And honestly, I have on my phone one of these, let's see if I can open it. Like this, like opens up. So you can put your credit cards in here, your ID, put everything in one place. And if you can create your wall, I guess if you're taking like a purse or a bag or something like that, if you want to take spare shoes, try to incorporate it into your costume.
Yeah, if I make armor in my costume, which I usually have, I'll make a compartment in there that will hold some things like our phones, our chargers, our wallets. And if she's wearing high heel shoes, she'll take some flat shoes that she can stuff in a little compartment somewhere. And I also, for my Spider-Man, I made a backpack that looked like it was covered in web. That was basically like a helmet shape, and it had a little door inside that we could just throw everything inside it.
So I think, wear comfortable shoes, definitely travel light. I also think something that's really important is just about the whole cosplay community as a whole is, if it's something you're interested in trying, just try it. I mean, I know, Jeffrey, you didn't want to, look bad with a, Park City costume or whatever, but like, it doesn't matter. I'm kind of really meaning, when I say that, I mean the people that are clearly like just throwing on like, to me, like just trying to get attention, like pasties with no intention, right? Like, okay, like, you might as well go work at, somewhere else, right? Like, not that it matters, but like, you're not really into the con at that point.
Right.
But to me, like, I mean, we had friends that literally went and got like some Bob's Burgers costumes, and they were just out of the pack. And I was just happy that they came and played with us, like they went and really enjoyed the fighting robots and some of the panels, and we went and had dinner. And we had just as good of a time as if they had spent 5 months on their costume. Like, it doesn't matter. I think if you're interested in it, pick a character and dress up at a con. I bet you will have so much more fun if you dress up one day at a con.
Well, that's something that I had a thought about, is like maybe working on just like one outfit and trying to like slowly progress it and perfect it, kind of a thing, as to where, like, I know a lot of people like to do different outfits, all the time, but maybe if I just had like one that, I slowly progressed and worked on and made it just like the one that I always do or something,
We have a friend that does that. He actually has a Mr. Freeze, and it is amazing.
Yeah.
And every year it gets better and better and better. And he like just adds on to it instead of creating a whole new costume. So people do that.
So do your cable. Think about how you put the pieces together. How you, just start with his bionic arm or something.
That was the hardest thing to figure out. Like, what do I do? I was thinking about like cardboard and then wrapping it in aluminum foil, and I was like, that looks cheap. I don't want to. That looks
Dude,
cheap.
You just body paint it silver.
Yeah.
Make a template of your arm with saran wrap and duct tape.
Here we go.
And then cut down the seams, cut it out into pieces that are manageable, trace it onto foam, and just go from there. Glue the pieces together. If it's too big, do it again. Make it a little smaller.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there's a starting point now. So.
And if you have questions, let us know. I mean, we have definitely made our fair share of mistakes, and we still have some, some learning to do as far as really perfecting our skills. But let us know, and we'll definitely help out, Jeffrey.
Hey,
We
thanks.
want you to come cosplay with us. You can come to DragonCon.
Yeah, let's do it. Right. Come on.
Well, we've been going about 56 minutes. So since you're our guest, why don't you tell everybody what it is that you're doing, if you're doing anything on your channel or anything, and if anyone wants to get into contact with you, what's the best way to do that?
Sure, that's a good place to go. So honestly, we've done a lot of unboxings on the channel, and we have done a few other things that weren't consistent. So we've really been trying to nail down a weekly show and a repeatable concept.
I don't mean to interrupt, but can you guys see the chat?
No, I didn't. What does it say?
McBeard Rider.
Oh, barbarian.
That.
Sounds pretty good. That's why Jeffrey's cracking up over here. What's going on, man?
I was like, what is going on with Jeffrey?
Oh,
he's thinking about Cosmic Beard Rider. That's what's going on with
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey.
That's a great idea.
I'm sorry, guys. I just wanted to make sure you knew why we were laughing.
Oh, it's okay.
So continue.
Oh no, it's totally fine. We're trying to come up with a repeatable concept. Some of the ideas that we thought about, it seems like, some other people that are a little bit closer in the community are doing stuff that's very similar to those ideas. So we don't want to, step on any toes or
repeat something that's been done.
Be redundant.
Yeah.
So we are working on that. We have a few ideas, but the question comes to like, are they sustainable long term? So that's kind of where we are with that. But the goal is to really nail something down. We have a couple of ideas that we've really narrowed it down to. And hopefully we'll have something concrete this week. That's our goal. Yeah. And so we'd like to be more regular on YouTube. And there'll definitely be a mix of cosplay and comics in our content. That is our goal. We'd like to have our cosplay be something that we're not doing crunch time, that we are doing year round, so that we can get better and better and better at it.
And throw little edited videos up that are pretty short that, just, show that what we're doing, how we're doing it.
And if you want to get in contact with us on YouTube, all of our content, as we said at the beginning of this video, is on DK Comics and Cosplay. KomiKHAN has a channel as well, and there is no content on there. So it's all on DK. And as far as if you want to email us, my email is delphiaspark@gmail.com. His is kachoong@gmail.com. But the very easy way to get in touch with us is on Instagram. Just send me a DM at DelphiaSpark or send KomiKHAN a DM. And I'm pretty responsive on there, and so is he. Yeah. So we'll get back with you really quickly.
We're pretty chatty.
We're chatty people.
Awesome. If you need a link to my channel, you need help because you're on it. But if you want a link to their channel or Jeffrey's, I have it in the description of this video. And Jeff, what do you got going on later? You got anything?
Yeah, today I have a show 5:30 with the Direct Edition Squad. You know, with Comic Books NYC, Soldier and Fuchsia, and Bake the Snake. We just kind of get on and talk about some random things. So we got that tonight, and then I got all kinds of stuff going on right now. Where I got three shows on the Comic Core. I got Bro Talk with Tony Sanders, The Hunt. Coast to Coast with Just a Weekend. We did that yesterday. So I stay pretty well busy. I haven't put a video out on my channel in a while. I got plenty to make. I just do so many live streams half the time I don't feel like doing anything else. So.
Jeffrey, you are all over YouTube. You are the most busy person out of everyone on YouTube right now, I think.
And I work 6 days a week too, so it's not easy.
That's crazy.
You're like the super glue that holds us together, Jeffrey.
Hey, well, at least I'm good for something.
Yeah. How many DMs and messages did you get when you were out for the tooth thing? Out of curiosity.
I did get quite a bit. A lot of people that I've never even talked to before were sending me messages and wishing me well, hoping that I get feeling better. So it was crazy. It was really nice, man. Because I got really sick, man. I had a really bad infection, and I didn't want to do anything for like a week. I just pretty much was a recluse. It was bad.
That's awful.
Like he said, you are the glue of our comic community cosplay character.
Definitely.
So
everyone wants you on their show, Jeffrey, doing all their call outs.
I know, right? You know, I was thinking, you know, I know a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but like if you guys were to do like how-to videos on things for like cosplay and building costumes, I feel like that would be a good thing for you guys to do, because I know I'm not the only person who sits around here thinking about cosplaying and has no idea how to do anything. So
yeah, we want to do that. I actually got a really small handheld, that's a hard word to say, handheld camera about 2 months ago, but the quality was so grainy. That's what I shot that awful video that I, Frankenstein edited together.
The Fireside Comics.
The Fireside Comics. It was terrible, but it was fun. It was my first go at editing, and I think we just honestly we're probably going to use our phones.
Yeah. Because
the video quality is pretty good on there, but do some tutorials and how-tos as we're building. We might as well show how to manipulate the warbler and
heat foam up, paint foam, coat it,
all that. So I think that would we will definitely do some of that.
You probably get a lot of views.
Thank you.
You probably get a lot of views doing that, because how-to videos, I know YouTube's full of them. People love watching an explanation that's not just read.
Yeah, I do a lot of that, like how-to stuff on anything. Anytime I'm doing something I don't know, I'm always looking it up on YouTube first. So
me too.
And as far as me, I don't know how to edit, so I pretty much just do live stuff. I'll figure it out eventually. I've got a camera here that I bought real cheap, and I'll probably upgrade it at some point. But anyway, the only thing I have is tonight at 9 Eastern, 8 Central Time, me and Barbarian Kung Fu, or as he is now known, Cosmic Beard Gut Rider, will be doing a auction. And if you want to know what's going to be on it, we also had a preview video that we did that shows everything that will be for sale and the exact order that it will be for sale. And we're ending it at 2 hours. So there's no 4 or 7 or 8 hour auction or anything like that. We'll either sell it all or cap it at 2 hours. And that's all I've got.
That's cool. We'll be at the auction, Big Will. You have some nice books coming out.
Oh, well, thank you. Anybody else have anything to say before we get off here?
No, I just thank you guys for coming on today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thanks everyone in the chat.
Thanks, Delphia and Kachoong. Thank you both, and thanks everyone in the chat. And we will see you guys later.
Thanks, Big Will.
Bye, Big Will.